Happy Tuesday. This is Tyler Ingram. I'm extremely excited to be here today with one of the Chicago Bears greats, Desmond Clark. I grew up watching Des play for the Bears from 2003 to 2010, and he played a really pivotal role in getting them to the Super Bowl in the 06-07 season. And now he's been translating his success on the field to success in the business world as a professional speaker as well. Des, great to have you here today. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. So just to get a little bit more of a background and some context here, just could you kind of sum up in your own words who you are, what you do, and what you're currently working on?
People generally know me from playing with the Bears for 8 years and playing in the NFL for 12. But like you said, since then, been involved in a lot of other things. But currently now, the things that I'm focused on is my insurance agency, the insurance people, and also being an author and a speaker and really building that platform. Des Clark Speaks and Principles of Winning, getting out, speaking to corporations and organizations on topics that range from anywhere from personal to professional development, sales, and leadership.
That's awesome, man. So how would you define success?
Um, I think first I'll say that there are many different definitions of success. Success is an arbitrary word.
Hmm.
Success for me early on was just having been able to buy a house once I became a grown man. That's what I used to look at as success. So I think success is something that it evolves over time.
Hmm.
But success to me is being in the space that you want to be in at your present time.
Absolutely. That's a good answer. So I know in the past you've kind of been pretty open about your past growing up and everything and different experiences that you had that really molded you into who you are today. Would you be able to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. And I touch a lot on this in the book, and I also do it when I'm out speaking. And I think a lot of people know the things that I talk about with growing up. You know, single mom, had two brothers at the time. My youngest brother came 12 years after I was born, 12 and a half years after I was born, but having a drug addicted father and really living um, financially where, we didn't have a lot. Uh, things were things were tight most of the time,
Yeah.
but things were good for us and our family because that was our norm. That's what we knew. But the part that wasn't the norm, I didn't know it at the time, was just dealing with my father and his crack addiction,
Mm.
him being shot on three different occasions and being blinded, and then eventually, being around all of that stuff and seeing and experiencing and helping my father experience getting high by lighting his crack pipe because he would pull me into the back room and ask to, light his crack pipe. Him being blind
Wow.
was a task for him, so he would need help doing it. But a lot of those situations that we came into and came out of really built the person who I am today.
Hmm.
Just speaking to a friend on the phone and just letting her know there's so many things that we take for granted these days
Yeah.
that if we just stop, like most of us have had to do over the last month, stop
Right.
to take inventory of how, I mean, just how blessed we are.
Hmm.
Some of the things that we had to come through, some of the things that we had to deal with, but just all the blessings that we have around us. Most of us can really just point to a lot of things where we could just say, man, I'm just grateful to have this ability or to have this material object or whatever it may be.
Sure.
Just so many things, and just looking back at what me and my brothers and my mom and my dad and other people that I'm close to that we had to come through, man, I truly feel blessed and I'm grateful.
Yeah, it's a great story. It's amazing how some of the biggest hardships and obstacles in life can really push you forward that much more and make you want it more than anyone else.
Yeah.
So, what would your message, kind of along the same lines of that, what would your message be to someone that's currently going through a really tough season of life like that?
Well, to embrace it,
Hmm.
because here's the thing: we all go through tough times, and if we stop and just think about life, we know that we're going to go through tough times.
Yeah.
And when we get in those tough times, what we tend to do is fight against those tough times. we don't want to be in that space, which is logical, which is, human nature. We want to get out of those spaces as quickly as possible. But I went through a tough time recently, just 3 years ago. And one of the things that helped me get through it and get past it was embrace it. I'm in this tough time right now.
Yeah.
So now that I'm in this tough time, now what?
Mm.
Now what? And just ask yourself that question. Now what? Because you're there. You're in the situation. Now
Yeah.
what? What are you going to do about it? What actions are you going to put into place to get yourself past that situation? Most of the time, there's a way out. And it may be a long process. It may be a short process, but there are actions to be taken to eventually get you out of just about any situation that you get yourself into, whether you got yourself into that situation or just circumstances that were out of your control, like we're going through now with a lot of people with this coronavirus thing. A lot of people are in situations that they never dreamed of, they never asked for. Hardworking people got up every day, did everything that they're supposed to do, and now boom, I'm in a situation that I don't deserve. But here's the thing: you're in the situation, and now embrace the situation, not embrace it like, okay, this is what I want, this is where I want to be, but just embrace this is the time and place that you're in right now. But you know that you don't want to be there. So now what do I have to do now?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great perspective to have.
Then just focus on the now what part, because a
Yeah.
lot of us focus on the critical situation. That situation is going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you want to get out of it, you have to focus on the now what part.
Definitely. And kind of stop feeling bad for yourself and what got you in that situation, focus on what you can control. I
Right.
guess, was there a defining moment that really kind of changed your mindset with that to just taking control back in your life?
Or just early on in life, seeing the stuff that I seen, seeing my mom struggle, seeing my dad become, go from my hero to a guy who he was just a shell of himself, and seeing, being on Section 8 and going through a time where we were in and out with different family members and living in the black bottom with no lights, no refrigerator, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I just knew that I wanted to do something different with myself. And really, and I talk about this when I'm on stage, I think I was 14, 14, I think I was like 13 or 14. And I had just come back from helping my dad get high, and I left the house and just had a conversation with myself about, did I want to go down the road of everything that I seen, because I had just been propositioned by a drug dealer to sell drugs for him. And I had to make that decision at that point. And it was early on in life that I made a decision that, I was just going to do the things so I can see another side of life and not do the things that were going to take me down the same path of a lot of my family members and friends and people like that, the path that they had taken, which was going to be a dead end path unless a change came about. And luckily, a lot of change did come about for a lot of those people. But for me, the change came when I was walking home that day at the age of 14. And, the thing that just kept whispering to me is that I didn't want to be another disappointment to my mom.
Mm.
That's what really kind of got me over the hump, because she had been through enough. She had enough disappointment in her life, and I didn't want to be another disappointment.
Wow. So what was kind of the light at the end of the tunnel there for you? Was it always football? Did you kind of know that that was what you would put your energy towards?
No, man, football was just a way for me to get out and express myself, a way for me to escape and just go be competitive. And I did promise my mom that I was going to be successful, and I used football as a way to be successful. But that didn't click in until I got into high school, and I started seeing people getting college scholarships for playing football.
Mm.
And then they added on that part about grades also, and I was like, oh, so I gotta be good at sports, and I gotta kind of be good at school also. And
Yeah.
when I'm talking to kids, I tell kids all the time, it doesn't matter why you go and get good grades. The point is, you do it for the reasons that you have to.
Mm.
And whatever that reason is, don't let anybody demean that reason, because the only reason that I got good grades in high school was so I could play football, so I could play basketball, so I could be on a football field and on a basketball court doing the things that I wanted to do. The only reason. Other than that, and tell you the truth, I was lazy about doing that. I just did enough so I can get by. And then when they introduced that sliding scale, hey, ACT, SAT, oh man, I got to have a certain grade point average now. Hold on, nobody told me about that. And then my senior
Yeah.
year, I had to bring my grade point average up. And then the first grading period, I had all A's and a B. Never had happened since like my I was like a third grader, but I did it because I had, like you say, a light at the end of the tunnel. That if I knew I was going to fulfill that promise to my mom of being successful, I was going to have to get myself into college, and that was the only way that that was going to happen.
Interesting. Yeah, the only way to really get out on the field and have something kind of bigger than yourself pushing you forward there.
Yeah,
That's great. So
but that's
then I guess on the
in
oh,
general,
sorry, go ahead.
right?
What was
That's,
that?
that's life in general, right?
Absolutely.
People have motivations for doing the things that they do, and
Hmm.
that was just my motivation. Motivations come in so many different shapes, forms, and fashion. And I tell people all the time, whatever your shape, form, or fashion is, just let it be that. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter as long as you're progressing towards where you're trying to go. Doesn't matter what the carrot is.
Yeah, for sure. The why is always so much more important than the what in life, no matter what it is that you're doing.
Hmm.
And so true. On the field, I guess then, what is like your most memorable moment? Obviously, getting to the Super Bowl and everything, you did a lot. What would be the most memorable?
The most memorable moment that I had was really coming out of the tunnel for the Super Bowl.
Mm.
Um, and I was in my home state. I was playing in Florida,
Yeah.
people in the stands, and just realizing, man, I watched this as a kid. Like I stayed up and watched every Super Bowl as a kid, and now I'm on this stage, and I'm actually playing in the Super Bowl. Man, that was a surreal moment for a while, and I actually had to talk myself back down to the field and say, all right, you have a game to play right now. But
Yeah.
running out there on that field, getting introduced as a team, and that was probably the best moment in my football career.
It's awesome. Were you nervous at all?
I wouldn't say nervous. I was more like I say, I had to settle down in the moment.
Hmm.
The moment was so big at first. I had to like literally talk to myself and tell myself, hey, this is a football game. That's
Yeah,
exactly what this is. It's another football game.
sure.
So it wasn't nervousness. It was just, man, this moment is so big right now. I had to break it back down to it's just a football game.
Hmm. That's interesting. Did you typically get nervous playing at all, or was it pretty much just all excitement?
Um, no, I think maybe the first couple years I did.
Yeah.
But I think, and I can only talk for myself because people have different emotions. But for me, I believe nervousness comes from not being prepared or not feeling confident.
Yeah.
And I went into games feeling confident
Mhm.
because I felt like I was prepared. Um, so I really didn't have. I had more excitement than I had nervousness.
Yeah. That's great. So, I've heard a lot about your relationship with Lovey Smith. I heard he's just an amazing guy, and I'm personally curious as well. My brother currently goes to University of Illinois, and have seen him do some really great things there too. What did playing for a coach like Lovey do for you, kind of molding you as a young man?
Well, I think his leadership style rubbed off on me, and his leadership style was one of he expects you to take ownership of your position, and he's going to give you all the tools to do so. And our team were led by our team members.
Yeah.
Now, of course, they were led by the coaches and every, but when it came to like the day-to-day stuff and how we govern ourselves,
Mhm.
we were led by our own team members. And I always appreciated that about him, where he wasn't a dictator. If we had issues that were legitimate, we would go to our captains. Our captains would go to him, and probably 7 out of 10 times we would get our way. Um, and that really rubbed off on me a lot. Just his leadership style helped his players endear themselves to him and play hard for him because we took ownership in what we did because he gave us ownership in what we did.
That's really great. It's a great trait to have as a leader. Do you feel you kind of translated that now into the business world as a leader yourself?
Absolutely. I mean, just like bringing people on to the football team,
Hmm.
you want to bring on people who you can trust and who you have confidence in. And so now, as being a business owner, do the same thing. We bring in people that we feel like we have great trust and that we believe in that can get the job done. You know, that's given to them. We let them take ownership of it. I mean, there's no one way to do something right, and
Right.
we let people figure out their way of how to do it right. Of course, there's guidelines and there's certain structure that has to be put in place, but in those guidelines and structure, it's yours to tinker with and figure out how you best want to get that job done. For instance, Lebanon tell us when we had to work out. He gave us different times when you work out before practice, you can work out during lunch, you can work out after practice. Just get your 3 workouts in a week.
Yeah.
There's no specific days that you got to get them in, but I need you to work out those. This is how many times I expect you to work out during the week. These are the workouts that I expect you to do. You're a grown man. You're a professional. Get your
Hmm.
job done. But the thing that he did say is that you don't want to come to the principal's office too many times. And that's the same thing in corporate America. If people are screwing up and not getting their job done, you got to make tough decisions.
Hmm.
It affects the bottom line of the team, and that's something that one individual person is never bigger than the team. So those are things that I learned partly from Levy and other great leaders that I've been privileged to learn under.
Yeah, that's great. It seemed like he had a great influence on you. I guess in addition to that, and like you said, being prepared, having confidence going out there, what do you think led to your success mostly in the NFL?
Man, this is crazy because I was just watching a 2-hour video of Shannon Sharp on the Showtime. It's a Showtime internet show called All the Smoke,
Hmm.
and he was saying on there, and I could listen to Shannon Sharp all day. And I played with Shannon my first year in the NFL when we both were out in Denver. And the one thing that he said is that when he got out to Denver, he was playing receiver. There was this guy that he didn't know the plays. He was struggling trying to get the plays, and he
Hmm.
asked a guy, "Hey, what do I have on this?" And the guy told him the wrong route, and the guy did it on purpose. And
Right.
Shannon said at that point, he said that he would never ever do that to somebody else. He will always do what he could to help that individual. But here's why: because that individual may be needed to help his team win.
Hmm.
So he was thinking the bigger picture, and he wasn't thinking selfishly. And then he had enough confidence in himself to know, hey, just because I'm helping this guy be good, that doesn't mean I'm gonna lose out. And Shannon was a guy that early on, I don't even know if he knows how much he helped me just by teaching me little tricks of the trade, being a small tight end, and just the mindset of the professional business. And I think having that great start, not only with him, Dwayne Carswell was a big influence on me. Byron Chamberlain was a big influence on me. All 3 of those guys played in 2 Super Bowls. Shannon Sharp got hurt in 1 Super Bowl. Those other 2 guys had to step up and make plays. So they had a wealth of knowledge and experience that I tap into early on that really set the mindset. And Rod Smith was another guy who really showed me what the work ethic had to be like in the NFL. And just getting that early start really helped me out. But the most important lesson that I got was in my first camp. I was just terrible. My first, and I had a scout that told me that I need to stop comparing myself to everybody else.
Huh.
Shannon Sharp is a Hall of Famer. Dwayne Carswell, they called him House.
Yeah.
He was a big dude. Byron Chamberlain was being groomed to be the next Shannon Sharp. I wasn't as good as those guys at the time.
Hmm.
Uh, and I would just constantly see them making these great plays. And in the back of my head, just thinking, I can't do that. So psychologically, I was defeating myself. And the
Yeah.
thing that the scout he told me, he said, you have to determine how good you want to be. And then once you determine how good you want to be, now you have to determine how good you are. And then every single day come out here and work on something so you can make up that gap from how good you want to be to, how good you are to how good you want to be. Every day, do something, focus on one thing to make up that gap. And that
Mm-hmm.
was the best piece of advice that I ever had playing professional sports.
Hmm. I love that. Kind of going back to the beginning, I saw, I think it was a couple months ago, you had posted you just recently found out you got an F on the NFL Combine.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never would have expected that. I'm sure a lot of people listening wouldn't have expected that either. Kind of take me through that. What were your thoughts when you
I,
found that out?
I went back and I looked at Brady's combine grade. His
Mhm.
combine grade was worse than mine.
Really?
Oh man, he had an F minus. So um, yeah, that it was shocking because I was sitting right over in my couch. That's not too far away from me. And I'm just joking around with my family, and we're talking about how tall everybody is, and everybody wants to add a inch and a half, 2 inches to their height, right?
Yeah.
So my daughter's short. My ex-wife, she's short. My son, he's average height, but he wants to be taller than what he is. And I was like, none of you are as tall as you are. And they was like, well, how tall are you? I was like 6'2" and 7/8. And my ex-wife, she was like, oh, I always thought you were 6'3". You always told me you were 6'3". I was like, 6'2" and 7/8 is 6'3". So I was like, prove mine. And I was like, I went to my combine. I said I can go to my combine stats because that's when I was measured at 6'2" and 7/8. And when I
Yeah.
looked at my combine stats, it pulled up and I'm like looking through it and I'm looking at my grades trying to find my height. And then I look at my final grade, it said F, big red letter F. And it just stopped me for like 15 seconds. And my stepson, he looked at me, was like, what's wrong with you? I was like, dude, I never knew this, but look at this. And I used to tell him all the time when I used to train with him in high school, I used to tell him that I was slow, I was weak, and I was small for a tight end. And I told him, I was like, you remember when I used to tell you that? Here's the proof right here. I scored an F at the combine. And a lot of it because I was slow, weak, I was small as a tight end. I scored an F for my size. I scored an F for my strength. I scored an F for a lot of the measurables that they had, and that really hit me for a moment. But then the next day, I was like, "This is a blessing in disguise," because
Yeah.
I did play 12 years, and it's a testimony to just say, it doesn't matter what other people think about you.
Hmm.
They can get it wrong. It matters what you think about yourself, how you apply yourself, and just that work ethic and consistency that you put into anything. I mean, you can overcome whatever odds that's placed in front of you.
Yeah. Do you feel it would have kind of changed your perspective or outlook or confidence in yourself if you had found that out at the time?
What? Yes, most definitely, because I was already not confident.
Yeah.
Coming out of college, I was really confident. But then when you get to the league and you got Shannon Sharp in front of you, just doing stuff that he makes it look so easy and simple. And then you got Dwayne Carswell House in front of you, and he's just moving people off the line. I'm like, I can't block like that. I can't run like Shannon Sharp, man. I can't do these things.
Yeah.
You start to lose confidence really quick. And if I would have came into that already knowing that everybody thought I was an F anyway, no chance. No.
Wow.
So
Yeah. Really.
I didn't see that.
Really was a blessing in disguise. That's for sure. So,
It, it
tra-
was it was presented to me at the right time. It was presented
yes.
to me at the time when I'm trying to share my story to help other people because I think a lot of people look at professional athletes and just say, hey, they're just superior in whatever way. When some people maybe, but
Mhm.
most 90% or more are not. They just work hard, and they just like any person that makes it high up on the chain in the corporation. They think, man, how did this guy get here? 90% of them or more just found something that they were good at and they worked their ass off and they
Yeah.
just made it happen. And that was my story.
I love that. Very humbling and inspiring to others that aren't currently where they want to be and have a lot of room for improvement and everything.
Absolutely. Which we all do have a lot of room for improvement.
That is for sure. So transitioning into your life after football, Can you kind of take me through what your thoughts and feelings were in that moment of sort of now what? What do I do with the rest of my life here? What's going to be my purpose now that I've played in a Super Bowl, lived out my dream and everything?
And the thing that you said two things there, now what and purpose.
Hmm.
So it took a little while for my now what to kick in. Because when I was released in 2011, there was still a chance that I could come back and play. But
Yeah.
10, the Bears had their third tight end get hurt. And I called them up, say, hey, I'm still here, still in shape, ready to go. If you guys want me back, they called me back the next day and said, hey, they're going to reserve that spot for a younger tight end. And when I hung up the phone, I hung up my career also at that very same moment. And then it wasn't until about maybe 6 months later that I really started trying to figure out now what am I going to do? And I actually sat at my desk and I was just writing, just stuff of all right, what the next chapter is going to look like. But then I said, you know what? I need to have a purpose for my life. And I just started writing down things of, all right, what purpose am I going to have? And sorry, I know this is a podcast and people are not watching on TV, but I mean on video. I just want
No
to
worries.
really quick. I had a few pages of stuff and I boiled it down into like this one sentence statement that I have on all of my cards. And it says, with excellence being the standard, my purpose is to enhance the lives of others through any expertise or resource available to me within reason and with respect for my family, who my primary, making every effort to transform strangers and associates alike into extended family members. And that became what my purpose in life was. And I said, anything that I do moving forward, I have to be able to execute on that purpose to be able to do whatever it is I'm going to do. And then later on, I developed my 5Fs: faith, fitness, family, finances, and fun. And through that, the financial part was, and I will say that those are the most important things in my life. I could fit anything in my life within those 5 different things. And the financial part became so instrumental because of being scammed out of a large sum of money, $750,000 later in my career, and then losing, 7 figures in real estate in the 2008 crash. I had to figure out how to manage my own finances, and that led me into the financial advising arena along with insurance. And that became a way that I could live out my purpose. Is now I can help people with financial and insurance matters now, help better their lives. And that's an expertise that I developed because of something that I went through. So it took a few years, but it was an intentional, active process for me to develop the what now and the purpose for the rest of my life.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a great purpose for you to have now. What parallels do you see between success in the NFL and in the sports world and now in business and daily life?
It's almost identical.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no difference at all. First of all, to be in the NFL, you got to have talent.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out where your talent is. And then you have to start to apply that talent. And you don't win on talent alone. You don't make it in the NFL on talent alone.
Mm-hmm.
You have to study and practice your craft relentlessly. Same thing in life. Whatever you're going to do as a career, you go in and you have some talent, but the know-how has to increase over time to be better at what you do, to sharpen that talent every single day that you're going in and out of those doors or whatever you get back and forth to your job. You really have to have a sharp and a sharp focus on just executing every day and executing at a higher level as you get better.
That's great. So what would your advice be to someone that has big ambitions, big dreams, really wants to do something in life, but they have a huge fear of failure that's getting in the way?
tell them that you're just like everybody else. That's the first thing that I'll say. Well, let me say no. Let me say this.
Huh.
I'll say that you're just like everybody else with big dreams.
Yeah.
Because everybody don't have big dreams. We'll just start there. Um, most people don't have big dreams. They say that they do, but it's a pipe dream. It's not something that they're really trying to ascend to. It's just something that, man, if it happens one day, that'll be great.
Yeah.
That's most people. And then there are other people that say, you know what, man, I want to know what it's like to achieve X. And they set a path to do it. The thing that stops most people is not the know how to do it, is knowing what to do, but not doing it. Because there's so much information out here now that we can learn anything on our own if we really apply ourselves. But then there comes a sacrifice of time and effort with that. And that's what stops a lot of people from just doing the things that they know that they should be doing to get to where they want to go. Sometimes it's time. It may take too long. Sometimes you have to sacrifice other things that you like because you got to spend more time, you know, with trying to pursue whatever goal or dream that you have. And then that effort, man, hey, sometimes you may be dog tired and have to keep going. One of the things that I talk about is don't stop when you're tired. Stop when the job is done. Stop when you finish. That's the only way to make it. And those two things are the things that really stop people from doing the things that they know that they should be doing to get to where they want to go. And that's, you know, that's a human thing, and you have to push past it if you want to get to that big audacious dream that you have.
Yeah, I think it's good to have a positive relationship with failure and not view it as a failure, really. Are there any big lessons that you have learned from a perceived failure originally?
Yeah, so I mean, I failed so many times. I talk about that in my book. I failed so many times, and I'm talking about winning. I'm talking about principles of winning. That's
Yeah.
the name of the book. But I probably had more failures than I had wins.
Yeah.
Um, but that's how you win, because failure is only failure if you stop at failure. But when you use that failure as a stepping stone, that's how you can get to your greatest success. Failure is a learning opportunity. So if you don't achieve something that you set out to achieve, if you take the time to assess it and to say, okay, what can I have done better? Why didn't I get to that next level? What was it that stopped me from obtaining whatever it is I'm trying to obtain? And now reflect on that and then reapply the lessons that you learned from that. Well, it's not a failure. And quite frankly, you can't be afraid of that. You can't be afraid of not hitting the mark. You just got to throw the dart.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're never going to hit the mark unless you throw the dart. And you know, most of the times you don't hit the mark, but you always get to come back and you get to throw it again
Yeah.
and again and again and again. And you know, a few times you're gonna hit the mark, and that's gonna be your greatest success. Man, you probably know this just like everybody else knows this. A lot of the people who we see on TV as these big time success stories, behind those success stories were many, many, many failures before they actually hit the bullseye.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know. Are you familiar with Tony Robbins at all?
I am.
Yeah, he says the only failure is failure to learn, and that's so true. It's only a failure if you don't keep pushing and don't keep trying after that one failure.
Just
Uh,
stop. If you
yeah,
stop, you fail.
exactly.
But if you keep going, you're not failing. You're progressing.
Hmm. Exactly, man.
Yeah.
For sure. So I know we're kind of tapping into a little bit what you talk about in the book. Would you be able to kind of give just a few main takeaways that someone would get from reading your book?
Man, you know, I sent out the book to 100 people, and that's what I wanted them to answer. Because, of course, I know what I think, but I wanted to know what other people think. And I did have one guy who sent back some pretty good stuff. And one of the things that he said about the book was that he would recommend it for high school athletes all the way up to corporate executives. And he said what you would get from the book is a lot of soft skills, how to sharpen a lot of soft skills that will put you in a better position to deal with everyday life ups and downs, and how to take those ups and downs and make yourself a better person, a better a better employee, a better leader, a better salesman from applying those lessons. And when he said that, I was like, I appreciate that, because that is exactly what I was going for. But
That's amazing.
that's like one of 100 that I heard back from. I've heard back from 4 or 5 others, and I should be hearing back from everybody tomorrow, because that's when they can start posting reviews.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that. I actually ordered a copy over the weekend, so really looking forward to reading the book.
Nice. I'll send you a PDF copy, man. I didn't send you a PDF copy.
Oh no, not yet.
I'll send you once we hang up here, and I'll send me your email, and I'll send you the PDF copy. Don't judge me on the PDF copy. It's some misspellings and some bad grammar in there, which we're fixing, but I'll send it to you.
No worries, man. That would be great. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
No, there is a phrase in there that you kind of coined, perfect practice. What exactly does that mean to you?
So people have this notion of perfect, right? And there can be no perfect. So what I mean by perfect practice is you are doing whatever you can to do the things the right way in practice. So even if you're practicing a speech, if you're practicing basketball, some people go through the motions, right?
Yeah.
And they're not giving it their all in practice. So therefore, when the game comes, they're lacking. But here's the thing, I said perfect practice leads to perfect performance. When you practice in such a way that you're trying to be perfect with everything that you do, and don't get me wrong, there is no perfect, there's only progress.
Yeah.
But when you have that mindset of I'm trying to get this right every single time, now when it's game time, when you got to make that sales presentation, when you have to step out on the football field, Kobe scored 81 points. Tell me how many shots he missed in that game.
Yeah.
Who cares, right?
Right.
That was his perfect game. How many shots did Wilt Chamberlain miss in his 100-point game? Who cares?
Yeah.
That's a perfect game.
Right.
I mean, that's what I mean by perfect. Like your performance was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Was it quote unquote perfect? Probably not. But in the eyes of everybody, man, that was perfect. He played the perfect game. You heard people say that before. Man, that presentation was perfectly executed.
Yeah.
But there's no such thing as perfect. But you hear people say that all the time, and that's
Right.
what I mean. And that's what I mean by that perfect practice leads to perfect performance.
That's a great point. I love that. So what drives you to get up and work hard every single day?
Couple things. I want to see how good I can be. In a lot of different areas. Some areas I kick myself every day. One day I want to have a 6-pack. I haven't got there yet. I've never had a 6-pack.
Really?
That's something that, man, oh, you're talking about somebody beating up on himself for like getting undisciplined at times. But I do get up and I do work out and I do work on my body. I don't try to stay in good shape. I stay in relatively good shape most of the time. I've had times when I let it go. Yeah. But I just want to see how good I can be now that I'm writing more and I'm speaking more. I want to see how good of an author I can be. I want to see how good of a speaker I can be. I want to see how good of an executive I can be at the insurance people agency. When I want to see how far I can take it. We talk about goals, and I see goals as mile markers. Once you hit that goal, like the question we talked about, now what? Mm-hmm. Do you stop there? Most people don't.
Right.
Some people do, because that's just where they just want to. Okay, if I can get here, I'm good, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm the type of person, once I get there, now I want to see, okay, what else is there? So um, uh, uh, like the stuff that I do on LinkedIn and I get that feedback, man, that makes me feel really good that I was able to play a small role in somebody's life that maybe change their mindset or help them see things in a different way. I had a lady who sent me this message saying that I helped her create another product line for her chocolate company. Are you
Wow,
kidding me?
it's amazing.
How often can my words, just from my experience and what I'm sharing with people, help other people do that? I want to see if I can help somebody else do that. That's the stuff that drives me every day. How good can I be at what I do?
Hmm. I love it. Just that constant personal self growth and everything. It's a great mindset.
Absolutely. And like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of room for improvement.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just like talking about the perfect practice. Like when you
Mhm.
practice, I always say you get rewarded in the light for what you practice in the dark. Um,
Mhm.
and people see me speak and on doing these things on LinkedIn, but they didn't see the 10, 11 takes that I did before that. So
I feel you on that for sure.
um, they don't see how we went back and edited this book like 5 times before we actually sent out a version of it that was still imperfect. That people still found, hey man, did you see this when you wrote this? These
Yeah,
books are like whatever. So man, there's always room for growth.
absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that. So is there anything I guess that you used to do that would get in the way of your success that you just decided no more, you're never gonna do that again?
Yeah, I started listening to my own advice. um, I, I look at people sometimes, friends, family, people, and sometimes I'll be wanting to say, man, you should take your own advice, but that can come out as kind of rude. But then I actually had to say that to myself
Hmm.
because I have all of these principles, right? And I'm putting up air quotes here, all these great principles. But I said, I'm not living by these principles. I'm not doing it. In 2018, I started calling myself a business coach, and I had my first 6 clients. And then I had to stop doing it because I was like, the things that I'm telling these people, I'm not doing. And I said, I'm not going to do this unless I'm truly doing it. And really, that started before 2018. That started back in 2017. I had to kind of reinvent myself because I had a lot of things that was going on personally
Mhm.
for myself that I just wasn't okay with. And I had to say, you know what? I need to start doing the things that I'm telling everybody else to do. First of all, I say that my 5 F's are the things that really drive my life: faith, family, fitness, finances, and fun. Faith wasn't even a part of my life hardly anymore. Um, so that's when I started. And then the fitness came back in. Um, family was always there. Financially, I started just all right. I'm a financial advisor, and I'm
Yeah.
always on people about making great financial decisions. I need to start making great financial decisions all the time. Another thing that I have on here, my favorite verse, Proverbs 16:3, commit to the Lord all you do, and he will establish your plans. And I
Mhm.
wasn't doing that. I was doing it more so for self gain and just so people could say, "Oh man, that's Desmond Clark. Look at what he's doing." You know, and I started doing it for a different reason. I started living my purpose for a different reason. And and now, 3 years later, after 2017, when I really had to start over and reinvent myself, I can see everything as I look backwards. And one of the things that I tell people is the things that we are doing right now, we can't necessarily see how they affect us in the moment.
Mhm.
But all you got to do is look backwards and see everything that you did in the moment. Your life over the last month, year, 2, 3 years is a product of what you did in those moments. And if you like what you see, keep doing what you're doing. If you don't like what you see, you got to start doing different things in the moment to change what you've seen for the last month, year, 2, 3 years of your life. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what I had to do.
Yeah. Another blessing in disguise almost that you had that moment where you weren't fully living out what you were teaching others. And now it seems like you got more, you're more genuine and have more clarity with what you're actually doing.
Right. I don't feel a contradiction when I'm talking to people, when I'm saying these things. Now, I can say it with a smile. I can say it with full confidence. And am I at the highest, best level that I can be with everything? No, I'm
Hmm.
not. A lot of this stuff, a lot of this stuff that I started with because that's the stuff that I was telling myself that
Yeah.
I do. And a lot of it is stuff that I still tell myself that I need to do. And you know, I was just challenged just recently with one of the things I talk about character is